Now, amid the visit by the Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov, the United States seemed rather wary, and they've issued what seems to be some sort of a caution or warning to India. Here's a statement that's come in from the United States Deputy NSA Dalip Singh. He said, and I quote, "There will be consequences for any country, including India, that conducts local currency transactions through Russia's central banks or constructs a payment mechanism that subverts or circumvents the United States sanctions against Russia." Not just that, he's even spoken about LAC, about China, saying that India cannot hope for Russia to take a stand backing India in case of a conflict with China. So Dalip Singh making these comments clearly as a message to India to send out a warning. India, of course, won't really pay heed to this kind of a statement from the United States Deputy NSA. We have a very, very clear diplomatic policy. We have a very clear foreign policy which we will stick by no matter what kind of comments are made here. But to again tell you exactly what the United States has said here, as Lavrov is in India and is going to be discussing a slew of issues, including alternate payments to the SWIFT payment system, considering sanctions, the United States is saying there will be consequences for countries attempting to circumvent sanctions against Russia. And he's also, in fact, gone on to state that if, in fact, there is any sort of case where China violates the line of actual control, India should not expect Russia to come to its defense. Let's get you some reactions on this broadcast. Shastri Rao, defense expert, is joining us on this broadcast. Mr. Rao, good morning. Your reaction to the U.S. Deputy NSA sending out this message, almost as if it's a coercion tactic amid Sergei Lavrov's visit to India?
Yeah, so you see, that is completely unjustified if, the U.S. criticism doesn't stand in its ground. You see, because when the oil prices have gone up, India does not really, the Ukraine-Russia crisis or the West and the Russia confrontation, India doesn't have a role to play there, right? I mean, it's not because of us or our diplomatic failures or oversights that this kind of a situation has embarked upon the world. So it's very natural for the prices to, when the prices go up, it's natural for countries to go out in the market and look for better deals, right? So that's what we are doing. And as far as Russia coming and standing up for us in case there is an LAC incursion, so when there was a 2020 incursion, I don't think any country, even U.S., came and stood by India, let alone Russia. So these are, I would say, in my opinion, Russia tactics, because you see, U.S. and these do not stand any technical ground, because the sanctions that are imposed by the U.S. on Russia are the moderate category, where U.S. has not stopped its allies and partners from buying oil from Russia. And, if you look at the data, actually in the month of March, right, Europe has actually bought 15% more oil and gas than in February. So if a close ally such as Europe, right, is so dependent on Russian oil, and there's nothing that U.S. can do about it except for planning for future, I think it is very unreasonable for U.S. to put up this kind of pressure on India. And India is not really going to bow down to such pressure tactics, because let's also remember that when it comes to Indo-Pacific, it is the USA that brings us more in the Indo-Pacific.
I think what's very clear is we have a very, very clear foreign policy, and no kind of pressure is ever going to change that. Swasti Rao, my apologies for mispronouncing your name earlier as well. But what do you make also of the comment from the Deputy NSA there with regards to China, saying that if there's any violation along the LAC, don't expect Russia to back India?
Yeah, so like I said, that these are pressure tactics. You see, when the Russia-Ukraine crisis was unfolding, I mean, it's still going on, but when it started to unfold, there were a lot of speculations about how U.S. Attention is going to shift from the Indo-Pacific and from China to now Russia. And, there were a lot of analysts who said that, USA shouldn't be doing that. But actually, not even for a minute, USA has forgotten that the real adversary out there is China. And I think US is now kind of making a comeback, into sharp, so to say, comments on China, because you see, Wang Yi was here, the Chinese foreign minister had come to India, and now Lavrov is also coming. So obviously, US is a little apprehensive of, India falling into the trap of perhaps a Sino-Russian axis. But I think that's a very naive judgment to make, because like I said, and like you also rightly pointed out, that India does not really fall into these camps at all. And that has been the sine qua non of our foreign policy, that we actually maintain a strategic autonomy and we keep our national interests first. So obviously, U.S. understands that. And also, let me tell you that, one shouldn't really be looking into too much, reading too much into the comments, because, like I said, that nobody came to our rescue in 2020 when there was a real incursion too, right? Not U.S., not Russia, not anyone. So we know that we need to fend for ourselves. That's one. And the other thing is that, you see, also understand that USA has not really imposed sanctions on us under TAFTA for the S-400 deals, because they also understand our defense dependence on Russia. So I think it is a time when USA needs to also understand that there are certain very important reasons why our dependence on Russia is the way it is. And if that has to be lessened, so for example, let me just give you a very clear parallel. Like Europe's dependence for natural gas and oil over Russia cannot be substituted overnight. Similarly, India's dependence on Russia for a variety of reasons cannot be substituted for overnight. And this is something that we intend, this is something that we expect at least support partners to understand. And why would we not go ahead and buy, the oil if the prices are going up? Don't you, Biden himself is so worried about the prices skyrocketing. He just, I think today or yesterday, he announced that U.S. is going to be opening up the strategic reserve. Right, and they are to just control the prices of Brent oil. So U.S. is also doing a lot of things. They are talking to Iran. They're bringing back the nuclear deal on the table, so that Iranian oil is back on the table. Similarly, they're going and visiting Venezuela, so that Venezuelan oil is also back on the table. So they are doing all of these things. They are making these U-turn on their foreign policies just because there is a national interest.
I think it's very clear from what you're telling me also, Swasti Rao, that the United States is under a lot of pressure here. And yes, they're resorting to these kind of tactics of sending out cautions, warnings, etc. to India, but that's where it stops, and for good reason. India also in its response will not really look into what kind of statements are being made from the United States. Our agenda for this visit of Sergei Lavrov is also very, very clear. Our diplomatic stand as far as this war, as far as sanctions against Russia is also very clear. And any message from the United States will in fact be looked at from that perspective, that we are very clear as far as what our policy is concerned. And that's why India, in fact, interestingly, had defended its decision to look for good deals for its energy requirement amid all of this volatility in the market, pointing out that Europe has also been a major buyer of Russian oil and gas even after the war in Ukraine. So at any point, if any country tries to point fingers at India, India is simply highlighting that, look, all of you also are doing the exact same thing. We're looking out for ourselves just like every other country is. And that's what really it comes down to. So whatever the United States here is saying, with the Deputy NSA, Dalip Singh, making these comments, there's no doubt that America will be verily tracking what's happening today with Sergei Lavrov's visit to India. But having said that, India very clearly knows exactly what is going to be discussed, what will be brought up, and the United States messaging or stand on this isn't going to make a difference.